Hi, my name is James Perry. I'm a local artist. I'm working with the Bay State Banner, interviewing Paul Goodnight. So, Paul, thank you again for doing this interview. I remember as a younger man meeting Dr. Biggers when he came here a long time ago, and then recently I was able to watch an interview with you and Dr. Biggers. So I always said to myself it would be funny if I was actually able to interview you like you interviewed Dr. Biggers. So, for those that do not know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
What can I tell you about myself? I've been in this field for a long time. I've painted. My aunt said that I was painting when I was 4 years old. I've done so many things, and I hate to. I'm not the kind of person that keeps blowing their own horn, so it's very difficult for me to do that. But I've done the Olympic thing. I've visited maybe 4 or 5 different countries and worked in there. TV shows, just a lot of media work and a lot of learning, for the most part, from different countries.
Great. So that actually leads into my next question. So I know your artistic journey has been quite remarkable, with experiences ranging from serving from Vietnam and becoming a very celebrated artist. And how have those diverse experiences influenced your artistic styles and themes over the years?
I'm not sure about the question. But I think it was, what did I get from those different places?
What did you get from those places?
Okay. Usually what happens when they go into another place, when they find out that I'm going to stay for a while, then they no longer treat me as a tourist. And they introduce me to different artists and what they're doing, so forth and so on. In Haiti, I met with a bunch of different artists, which were more revolutionary artists. And I loved Jean-Marie Jerome's political statements and his style. And he worked with Palmerston, that kind of stuff. So I started incorporating that in my work. Africa, pretty much the same thing. Brazil, the Brazilians worked with a lot of the different color combinations, but I recognize one thing. When I'm in these warm countries, I'm seeing more color display because of the sun, because of the percentage of sun that they see throughout the year. Something like 65% of the year is sunny. So the color combinations is really good. And then you're also interacting with artists who want to learn what I've done, as well as I want to learn what they've done. So I get a lot of, I kind of steal, their style or their mediums or however they put it. And I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed living in the other countries. I've enjoyed the fact that, I found that this medium made it comfortable for them to communicate with me, even if I didn't speak the language. So it's been a learning experience all over. I just found that was probably one of the most beneficial things that I've learned about the other country. Plus, I was invited to a lot of different things to record. And I was teaching at McCurry University about 2 or 3 years ago. And that was a whole nother experience.
Your work has been featured in films, television programs, and numerous prestigious publications. Actually, just recently, your work was in Art Collectors of America. What impact do you believe this exposure has on the perception of your art?
That kind of exposure is generally a marketing tool. And how people perceive it is how many people see it. So you're basically building up your audience. And once you build up your audience, it kind of continues to explode into other facets of areas in which you never thought that you were going to be in.
Mm.
So all of the exposure, the TV, movies, magazines, and everything are marketing tools for, for a larger audience, and that's really what that really does for me. It's also, I know that every artist doesn't get that kind of exposure, so I don't take it for granted, but I do know how to use it.
Mm. 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 I've been waiting to ask this question to you. We spoke about this a lot, but I want you, for people that haven't had these conversations with you, I'd love for them to hear this. So the question is, can you share how your tutelage under Paul Healy, John Biggers, and Chuck Stigliano has shaped your artistic vision and technique?
Well, John Biggers was a mentor. As a mentor, he keeps you spiritually focused on what your job is. He doesn't teach you how to draw this or how to draw that. He basically makes sure that you're on the right track. And he gives you, like little spiritual goodies that keeps you in line. Or he'll say something like, chicken and pig.
Yeah.
But it enforces me or anyone that's worked under him to maintain what they were here to do. Paul Healy, he is an incredible teacher. He teaches with challenging you, with a sense of humor, and making it interesting. You have to make, if you're a teacher, you really have to make what you're teaching more interesting, and it doesn't have to be dogmatic, especially in this field. It just has to be, you have to keep them entertaining. A good teacher is very entertaining. And you're also teaching you the skill set. Like the skill set is something like repetition, that you do it over and over and over and over again. It's called it's called continual knowledge. So if you have a knowledge of what you're doing, the applied knowledge, that's what it's called. Applied knowledge, which means the application of what you know. So you do it repetitiously. You see basketball players before they get ready to play the game. They're shooting that same ball over and over and over again, because then it becomes muscle memory. And that's what happens when you're drawing. You're using that same memory, that applied knowledge, and that way you can invent, you can explore, you can use more of your imagination than you would if you just have the skill. You it's really about developing a practical funnel for you to grow or for you to evolve. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of artists don't do. They don't evolve. They are used to selling their style over and over and over again. And that way, I don't believe you will grow. I think you'll probably grow financially, and if that's where you want, that's fine. But I mean, for me, it's taken me to travels, taken me meeting different people, it's taken me, of course, John Biggers and Paul Healy. I really think that this is what my calling is supposed to be. Like John says, your job is what you get paid for, but your calling is what you're made for. And that keeps me focused. And of course, it's always, you're supposed to give back. So being a mentor, learning to be a mentor, is really what I want to do too, as well as teach.
So the next question I have for you, Paul, is your art has not only adorned private collections, but you also use your art to raise funds specifically for the Andre Agassi Foundation and charter school. How do you see the role in contributing to social causes and education, and why is this engagement important to you?
Well, I think we don't do things in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as much is given, as much as should uh, give.
Mm.
You know, so I mean, you don't own your work. You
Mhm.
know, you basically your work is the basic talent that you have is your gift, and it's not your gift to keep; it's your gift to give. And when you find these different organizations that you're a part of or that you're affiliated in some way, you really want to make sure that what you do is complementing the whatever that organization is, whatever that field is. You really want to make sure that you're giving as well as you receive quite a bit.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's true. I know I'm involved with my old high school, Boston Arts Academy, and because you spoke to me about how this doesn't belong to us, it's created, our work is created through us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you said, you got to give this stuff back.
It doesn't belong to you.
Mhm.
I mean, this art doesn't belong to me, and the only way that I can recognize that this art is of course, there's a price involved. I'm not a fool. but for some like charities and that kind of things,
Yeah.
you do give away. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I gave a piece to Howard University,
Mm-hmm.
Morgan,
Mm-hmm.
what's the Hampton,
Mhm.
and those kinds of things, because these are black universities. And I made sure that the people in Sierra Leone was supposed to get a seat at Howard University
Mm.
because they were victims of the war. So I was giving them, it was Hampton, I'm sorry. I was giving Hampton the works in order that would supplement the money that would that would take to bring these people from Sierra Leone
Mm.
to get a college
Education. That's amazing. Some of your work is owned by some incredible people, like Bishop Desmond Tutu, the late Maya Angelou, Samuel Jackson. So the question is how does knowing that your art is appreciated by such influential individuals impact your creative process?
Those names are great. I mean, it's good to have your works in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of the work that's been purchased from mine is people like yourself, the everyday people, and some, who have some influence, but not notable names.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of my work does not go to those celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the work that goes to people who are everyday people, or sometimes they can't afford the big pieces,
Yeah.
or they can afford a print. They become advocates. They become they're glad to adorn their walls with a print of some kind because they can afford it, and also we can educate them about buying art once they buy it.
Yeah.
Whether it's a print, whether it's a limited edition serigraph, or just an offset. It is great. I like the fact that these celebrities have bought it because it's good on the resume. But I really recognize who has really kept me in a place where I can continue to do this without looking for a 9-to-5.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you said that because I remember reading in one of Charles White's recent books, he said what he wanted to do was he understood that, like your work is in museums and some prominent people have purchased his art, but he said his goal really was to allow regular everyday people,
Yeah.
to people to have access to the
Right.
art.
Right.
He thought that was extremely important.
We like to think that the pieces that are bought from people who don't have that kind of money can reflect or has something to do with how they see the work itself and how they would. It's like music.
Mm.
You know, you want to go home and you want to listen to certain kinds of music because it makes you feel good. The exact same thing with art. You want to hang something on the wall that when you come home, you want to say, okay,
Mm.
you know, this is how I am, or this is who I am. It's a reflection of who you are.
Mm.
And hopefully I've been able to establish that a couple of times in different people's lives.
You traveled to a lot of different places. And I don't think you've ever said this specific place on this planet really inspired me in this way. So could you answer this question? What in your extensive travels, can you pinpoint one place where you were like, that was it, like that really got the juices flowing?
I used to go to a place and stay for a while, so I'm not treated like a tourist. I am treated like an outsider, but not a tourist. And you'll find that people, and like in Brazil, they said, I said, you guys are really friendly. They said, we are friendly, but we're not your friends. He said, you earn friendship.
Mm.
And I said, oh, okay. So, talk to me.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a different kind of connections. Culturally, I recognize family was very important in those kinds of studies. Here we deal with the individual, you know, how the individual can be successful in such and such. And family is important. But family is really important. I mean, that's why I did when I was in Haiti. I did a piece called Cousins by the Dozens.
Yeah, I remember
And
that piece.
the piece was, I said, oh, how do I get this? He said, go down there and see cousin such and such. I said, really? He said, that's your cousin? He said, yeah, go down there and see brother such and such. So all the things were related. So they basically lived off of the good fortunes of each one of them as family. And I found that was a kind of something that I had to keep reminding myself how important family was.
Yeah, yeah.
China, I wasn't there for very long. Just kind of up in England, I wasn't there for very long. I wish I would have stayed a little longer. But in Africa, of course, I was there for a little while longer. I taught again at Bukuri universities, and that gave me a different. And in Sierra Leone, where the war was, and in Mozambique, where the war was, I had a different challenge, as well as in Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, I spent 4 months dealing with the war and doing a visual adaptations of what those people were like.
Yeah.
And I met the women of Mli. I did a huge mural on their wall. Women of Mli is a female fighting faction. So it's separate. They separate male from female in terms of the army itself. And I found that was very interesting. The woman that I stayed with, she learned how to mantle and dismantle 4 or 5 different weapons. She did night watch, you know, and then she took care of me and made sure that I learned enough Spanish so when something went down, you knew how to go. I said, how do you say duck? They thought I was talking about the animal.
Not trying to get out of the way.
I said, how do you say these things? Because I want to know, how do you say run?
Yeah.
You know? Because I want to see everybody else going somewhere, and I'm not.
Yeah.
But that was, you know, once you're in a war-torn country, you recognize certain words or certain sentences or certain things you need to know. And so I relied on that. But you know what was very interesting about being in Nicaragua? The first book that they had was called Malcolm X Hablas.
Really?
Yeah, Malcolm X Speaks. And I said, whoa, really? And I kept that book because I was so impressed that they thought Malcolm was very influential in Mozambique, they have a Malcolm X Avenue.
Mm.
So you could see the influence of Malcolm. And then I found out, like, what Idi Amin
Yep.
was Muhammad Ali's good friend, because Idi Amin was a boxer.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
you know, you learn different things, and you
Mhm.
learn not only just about how we've influenced them, but how they've influenced us, like
Absolutely.
Desmond Tutu and all of these kinds of people.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela. These, what they've gone through, and to seek the truth
Mhm.
was astonishing to me, because I didn't realize the impact that they had in these different countries.
Yeah. 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 That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Trying to look. The next question I had for you was more along the line when you spoke more about it earlier. Um, you said about how the art doesn't really. I understand what it is. I think you gave me this example of when you said Dr. Biggers one time when you guys met. I said, Paul, which one pieces you keep? You know that you had hung up.
Mm-hmm.
And can you talk more to other artists that will be watching this about how they should view their art and how it really is created through them? Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Okay, that resonated with me, because he asked me, and all your works here, which ones would you keep? And I was saying, this one, this one, this one, this one.
Yeah.
He go, oh no, Paul, this doesn't belong to you.
Mm-hmm.
He basically was saying to me, you know, get rid of your own clutter, because you start copying yourself. You don't grow. You know, as he explained, and I'll see if I can do this really quick. He explained evolving is really important, because it talks about your own experiences. And he used the seed. He said you put a seed in the ground, and that seed grows a tree, and that tree grows apples. It's the natural order.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but evolution is you put a seed in the ground, and that seed grows a tree, and that tree grows apples. He said, but the evolution is apple sauce, apple pie,
Yeah.
apple wine,
Yep.
apple so forth, apple strudels.
Yep.
That keeps evolving.
Yeah.
From that, he said, that's what you want to be.
Gotcha.
He said, you know, he said, don't deny yourself the evolution of what you're doing.
Okay. To piggyback off of that, my last question for you is, you've been a great mentor to many of us.
Yeah.
Um,
I say yeah.
what advice would you have for younger artists who are navigating the complexities of the art industry, because it can be challenging, and seeking to make a lasting impact with their work?
Learn the skill. Have a foundation. You know, really, generally, a lot of artists go on talent alone. You know, and talent doesn't necessarily allow you to grow. It just means that that's, you know, your God-given gift. A skill foundation, like I said, skill means the application of what you know, and you're doing it repetitiously over and over and over and over and over again until you don't have to think about how to draw muscle, that kind of thing. I say to them, that young people also, if you can commit yourself to this, a good mentor will find you. You won't find him. You will find him, but that doesn't mean he wants to teach you. He wants to know that what he's given you, which is valuable, that you are going to learn and pass it on. We have a thing called fire, function, and foundation. Foundation was John. He was a mentor. He knew that he was leaving, but he was leaving with somebody to pass it on. So function is a person that's learning as well as he's teaching. And fire is the young man or woman who really wants to challenge the teacher and you love the challenge. I love when young people challenge me
Mm.
because I basically know what I know.
Mhm.
And all I can do is give them that. And if they mess up in their challenge, it's always welcoming.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's like I was telling Paul. I said, you know, I've been learning from you for 6 years. He goes, 6 years? And I said, yeah. He goes, wow, you one hell of a slow learner. I said, what? But you know,
Yeah.
that's his sense of humor.
Yeah.
But that's the way he taught, and
Yep.
I appreciated him. He told me that I was going to be teaching at one time. I said, no, I have a speech impediment. I can't teach. I ended up teaching.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it,
Okay.
Paul.
You're
Very
welcome,
much.
sir. Thank you for those questions.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. This is a true pleasure. This is amazing.